Belgian Ardennes, December 24, 1944, 1800 hours. Corporal Daniel Price was going to die in a church. The irony wasn't lost on him. Raised Catholic in Boston, altar boy until he was 14, he'd always imagined dying in a church would mean old age, surrounded by family, peaceful. Not like this. Not at 24 years old, bleeding from shrapnel wounds, alone in a destroyed Belgian chapel while the Battle of the Bulge raged outside. The church was small, stone walls that had stood for maybe 300 years. The roof was partially collapsed from artillery fire. The crucifix above the altar had been knocked askew. Pews were shattered. Stained glass windows were gone, replaced by the cold December wind howling through empty frames. Daniel had been a medic with the 101st Airborne, part of the desperate defense of Bastogne. 3 days ago, his unit had been overrun during a German counterattack. He'd been separated, wounded, and had been trying to make his way back to American lines ever since. The shrapnel in his side was getting worse. He could feel the infection spreading. Without proper treatment, he had maybe 2 days before sepsis killed him. He'd stumbled into this church an hour ago, looking for shelter from the snow and wind. What he'd found was worse than being alone. The church wasn't empty. There were 12 men inside. 6 American soldiers, 6 German soldiers. All of them wounded. All of them in critical condition. Some unconscious. Some delirious with fever. Some crying out in pain. They'd all found their way here somehow, crawling away from the battle, seeking shelter, seeking sanctuary in a house of God. Now they lay scattered across the stone floor, enemies dying side by side, too weak to even care about the uniforms anymore. Daniel's medic training kicked in automatically. He moved from man to man, assessing injuries with what little supplies he had left. 2 Americans with gut wounds probably wouldn't make it without surgery. 1 German with his leg nearly severed, tourniquet barely holding, needed amputation. 3 men with chest wounds, collapsed lungs, pneumothorax, needed chest tubes. Others with compound fractures, severe burns, deep lacerations. All of them needed more care than Daniel could provide with his nearly empty medkit. A few bandages, 2 morphine syrettes, some sulfa powder. That was it. He was triaging who might survive when he heard footsteps at the church entrance. Daniel spun, reaching for his pistol, then gasped in pain as the movement pulled his own wound. A figure appeared in the doorway, backlit by the fading light outside. A German soldier. Daniel raised his pistol with a shaking hand. The German raised his hand slowly. He was wearing a Wehrmacht uniform with a Red Cross armband. A medic. Nick Schiessen, the German said. Don't shoot. Ich bin Sanitäter. I am medic. The German was young, maybe 22, with dark hair and exhausted eyes. He was limping badly, his left leg wrapped in a bloody bandage. He carried a medical bag over his shoulder. Stay where you are, Daniel said in English, keeping the pistol trained on him. The German didn't move. He looked past Daniel at the wounded men on the floor. His eyes widened. Mein Gott, he whispered. Then, in heavily accented English, so many. How long they are here? I don't know. I just got here an hour ago. Daniel's hand was shaking from exhaustion and blood loss. Are you alone? Yeah. Yes. Separated from my unit. 3 days. I am... He searched for the word. Lost. They stared at each other across the ruined church. American and German. Medic and medic. Both wounded, both exhausted. Both surrounded by dying men who needed help neither could provide alone. You have supplies? Daniel asked. The German nodded slowly. Some. Not much. You? Almost nothing. A groan from one of the wounded men broke the standoff. An American soldier, couldn't have been more than 19, was crying out in delirium. Mama, it hurts. Please make it stop. The German medic took a step forward. Daniel raised his pistol higher. I help him, the German said. Please. I am Sanitäter, doctor. I help. You're the enemy. Tonight I am only medic, like you. Another groan, this time from a German soldier. Then a wet, rattling cough from one of the Americans with a chest wound. The sounds of men dying. Daniel lowered his pistol slightly. Every instinct told him this was insane. You don't trust the enemy. You don't work with them. You capture them or kill them. But 12 men were dying, and 2 medics with limited supplies had a better chance of saving some of them than 1 medic alone. What's your name? Daniel asked. Friedrich Becker. I am from Munich. Daniel Price, Boston. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Daniel lowered his pistol completely and holstered it. We work together. We treat them all. American, German, doesn't matter. We're medics. That's what we do. Agreed? Friedrich's face showed relief and something else. Gratitude. Yeah, agreed. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I don't know if we can save any of them. Friedrich limped into the church, his injured leg barely supporting him. He set his medical bag down and opened it. Daniel saw that he did have more supplies: bandages, morphine, sulfa, some surgical instruments, plasma. We combine, Friedrich said. Pool our supplies. Work together. They started with triage, identifying who could be saved, who couldn't, who needed immediate attention. It was brutal calculus, deciding which lives had priority, but both men had been trained for it. The American with the gut wound was too far gone. They gave him morphine to ease his passing and moved on. One of the Germans with chest wound, same thing. All they could do was make them comfortable. But the others had a chance if they worked fast. Daniel and Friedrich fell into a rhythm. Language barrier meant they communicated mostly through gestures and medical terminology that was similar enough in German and English. Friedrich's English was limited but functional. Daniel's German was almost non-existent, but they made it work. They set up a makeshift operating area near the altar, using pews as tables. Started with the most critical cases. The German soldier with the nearly severed leg came first. Friedrich prepared for amputation, while Daniel administered what morphine they could spare. The man screamed when they started cutting, even with the morphine. It took both of them to complete the amputation and cauterize the wound. The soldier passed out from pain halfway through, which was a mercy. Next was an American with a collapsed lung. Daniel talked Friedrich through inserting a chest tube, a hollow reed from outside, sterilized as best they could. It was crude battlefield medicine, but it worked. The soldier's breathing eased. They moved from man to man, setting broken bones, stitching deep lacerations, cleaning and dressing wounds, administering the last of their morphine, combining their sulfa powder, starting plasma drips with the limited supplies Friedrich had. Hours passed. The temperature dropped. Snow began falling through the holes in the roof. Both medics were exhausted, their own wounds bleeding through bandages, but they kept working. Around midnight, they took a break, sat against the altar steps, too tired to stand. One of the candles they'd lit still burned, casting flickering shadows across the wounded men. Most were sleeping now, stabilized as much as possible. We saved 7, Friedrich said quietly. Maybe 8 if fortune is good. 4 we cannot save. They die tonight or tomorrow. Better than all 12 dying, Daniel said. Friedrich pulled out a cigarette, offered one to Daniel. They smoked in silence for a moment, listening to the wind and the distant rumble of artillery. It is Christmas Eve, Friedrich said. Heiliger Abend, Holy Night. Yeah, not much of a celebration. In München on Christmas Eve we go to church, my family. We sing carols. My mother makes Stalin, Christmas bread. My little sister Greta, she always wants to open presents early. Friedrich's voice caught. I wonder if they are alive. The bombing. München has been bombed many times. I'm sorry, Daniel said. Your family? Boston, safe, as far as I know. My brother's in the Navy, in the Pacific. My sister works in a factory making bombers. My parents write me letters. They're okay. They sat in silence again. Enemy soldiers taking a cigarette break after saving each other's wounded. It was surreal. Why do you help German soldiers? Friedrich asked. You could let them die. No one would know. Because I'm a medic. That's what we do. We help the wounded. Doesn't matter whose side they're on. Daniel paused. Why do you help Americans? Same reason. I take oath. Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm. I cannot pick and choose who I save based on uniform. They are all just men. Just soldiers who want to go home. One of the German soldiers, a young man maybe 20 years old, called out weakly, Wasser, bitte, water. Friedrich stood up with a groan, his injured leg protesting. He brought his canteen over, helped the soldier drink. Then he checked his bandages, adjusted his position to ease the pain. Daniel watched this enemy medic caring tenderly for his countrymen and realized something profound. They weren't really enemies anymore. Not in this church. Not tonight. The soldier Friedrich was helping looked up at him with feverish eyes. Danke, Sanitäter. Sind wir gerettet? Are we saved? Ja, Friedrich said gently. Du bist sicher. You are safe. Rest now. The soldier closed his eyes, a small smile on his face. He'd been told he was safe, and he believed it. Even though American and German armies were killing each other just miles away, Even though he was enemy territory, even though the future was uncertain, in this moment, in this church, he was safe. Daniel moved to check on his own patients. The American with the chest tube was breathing easier. The one with the compound fracture was sleeping, his leg properly splinted now. Another with burns on his hands and arms rested quietly after Friedrich had dressed the wounds with ointment from his supplies. As Daniel was checking the last patient, he heard something that made him freeze. Singing. Friedrich was singing quietly in German, a Christmas carol. Daniel recognized the melody even if he didn't understand the words. Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht, Silent Night. Other voices joined in, the wounded German soldiers who were conscious, singing weakly from where they lay. Alles schläft, einsam wacht. Then, incredibly, one of the wounded Americans started singing in English. A kid from Tennessee with a southern drawl, his leg in splints, singing the same carol. Silent Night, Holy Night. More American voices joined, the two groups singing the same song in different languages, the melodies intertwining in the cold air of the destroyed church. Daniel felt tears running down his face. He didn't even try to stop them. Friedrich was crying too. Daniel could see it in the candlelight. 2 medics and 12 wounded soldiers, enemies singing together on Christmas Eve. When the song ended, there was silence except for the wind and the distant artillery. Then Friedrich spoke. "Thank you for working with me tonight, for not shooting me when I came in, for trusting me. You saved their lives as much as I did," Daniel said. "Maybe more. Your supplies made the difference. Our supplies, we share. That is why they live." Friedrich reached into his jacket and pulled out something. A small pin, an iron cross, 2nd class, a German military decoration. "I received this at Stalingrad," Friedrich said, "for bringing wounded men from battlefield under fire. Is my most precious possession. I want you to have it. I can't take that. Please, as remembrance of tonight, of what we do together." Friedrich pressed it into Daniel's hand. "So you remember that even in war, we can choose to heal rather than harm." Daniel looked at the iron cross in his palm. An enemy medal. Possession of German military decorations was technically forbidden, could get him in trouble. But it meant something. This small piece of metal represented a night when 2 enemies became brothers in the most fundamental way, by saving lives together. "I'll keep it," Daniel said. "Always." From his own pocket, Daniel pulled out his medic's insignia pin, the caduceus symbol of Army Medical Corps. He handed it to Friedrich. "So you remember too." They clasped hands, these 2 medics, while the wounded men around them slept or watched in quiet wonder. The night wore on. Around 0200 hours, one of the wounded Americans died. The gut shot Daniel had known wouldn't make it. They wrapped him in a torn blanket and laid him in the corner with a prayer. 2 hours later, a German soldier died, chest wound, despite their best efforts. He joined his enemy in death, wrapped in another blanket. 10 remained, 10 men who would likely survive until they could be evacuated. As dawn approached on Christmas morning, they heard engines outside. The sounds of vehicles, voices shouting in English. "American patrol," Daniel said. "They're searching buildings." Friedrich's face went pale. "I am captured now." "Yes." "Will they kill me?" "No. They'll take you prisoner, send you to a POW camp. You'll spend the rest of the war there, but you'll be alive. Better than dying here." The church door burst open. American soldiers entered, weapons ready. A sergeant, seeing the scene inside, lowered his rifle in confusion. "What the hell?" "Sergeant, I'm Corporal Price, 101st Airborne Medic," Daniel said. "This church has 10 wounded, 5 American, 5 German. They're all stabilized. They need evacuation immediately." The sergeant stared at Friedrich in his Wehrmacht uniform. "That's a Kraut medic. That's Sanitator Becker. He saved American lives last night. Worked with me for 12 hours straight to keep these men alive. We should shoot him." "You shoot him. You'll have to shoot me too, Sergeant. He saved my men. He gets treated as a prisoner of war, with respect. That's non-negotiable." The sergeant looked at Daniel, then at the wounded men, then at Friedrich. He saw the exhaustion on both medics' faces, saw the blood soaking their uniforms, saw the supplies scattered across the altar. "Fine. He's a prisoner, but he comes with us now." 2 soldiers moved forward to take Friedrich. He stood without resistance, hands raised. "Wait," Daniel said. He moved to Friedrich, gripped his hand one more time. "Danke, Friedrich. Thank you for everything." "Danke, Daniel. Perhaps after war, we meet again. In better times. I'd like that." They took Friedrich away. The last Daniel saw of him was his limping figure being loaded into a truck with other German POWs, heading to a camp somewhere in France. The wounded men were evacuated over the next hour. The 5 Americans were sent to field hospitals. The 5 Germans were stabilized further and then sent to POW medical facilities. Daniel himself was treated for his shrapnel wound and infection. He spent 2 weeks in a hospital in Belgium before being returned to duty. The Battle of the Bulge continued for another month before the German offensive finally collapsed. Daniel survived the rest of the war. He was at the Elbe River when American and Soviet forces met. He was there when Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945. He returned to Boston in late 1945, used the GI Bill to go to medical school, became a doctor like he'd always wanted, married a nurse named Catherine, had 3 children, built a good life, but he never forgot Christmas Eve, 1944. Never forgot Friedrich Becker, the enemy medic who'd worked beside him to save lives. He kept the Iron Cross hidden in a drawer, taking it out sometimes to remember that night, the night when nationality and uniform hadn't mattered, when the only thing that mattered was the oath they'd both taken, to heal the sick, to help the wounded, to preserve life wherever they found it. In 1962, 17 years after the war, Daniel received a letter. The envelope had West German postage. Inside was a single page written in careful English. Dear Daniel Price, I do not know if you are the same Daniel Price who was medic in the Ardennes in December 1944. I have been searching for many years, writing to many hospitals and medical organizations in America, hoping to find you. My name is Friedrich Becker. We met on Christmas Eve in a destroyed church. We worked together to save 10 men, 5 American, 5 German. You gave me your medic insignia. I gave you my Iron Cross. I survived the war. I was prisoner in France until 1947. When I returned to Germany, I found my family alive. My mother, my sister Greta. My father had died in the war, but we 3 survived. I became doctor as I had wanted before the war. I work now in München at a hospital. I treat all patients, German, Turkish, American soldiers from the garrison. I remember our night together, and I try to see all patients as you saw those wounded men. Not as enemies or allies, but simply as people who need help. I still have your medic insignia. I keep it in my office. When I have difficult days, when I am tired, when I question why I became doctor, I look at it and remember Christmas Eve, 1944. I remember that even in the worst of times, humans can choose compassion. I hope you are well. I hope you became doctor as you wanted. I hope you have family and happiness. I will always be grateful for that night. You could have shot me when I entered that church. You chose not to. You chose to work with me instead. That choice saved 10 lives. And it saved me too. Not just from death, but from despair. It showed me that there was still goodness in the world. If you receive this letter, please write back. I would very much like to know what happened to the American medic I worked beside on the holiest night of my life. With deep respect and gratitude, Dr. Friedrich Becker, München, West Germany. Daniel read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down his face. His wife, Catherine, found him in his study, clutching the letter. Danny? What's wrong? He's alive. Friedrich's alive. He made it. Friedrich, the German medic, from Christmas Eve, 44, the one I never told you about. He found me. After 17 years, he found me. Daniel wrote back immediately. Thus began a correspondence that lasted for decades. They exchanged letters several times a year, sharing their lives, their families, their work. Friedrich sent photos of his wife, Maria, and their 2 children. Daniel sent photos of Catherine and their 3 kids. They discussed medicine, philosophy, and the war they'd both survived. In 1973, Daniel finally traveled to Germany, met Friedrich in person for the first time since that Christmas Eve 29 years earlier. They embraced like the brothers they'd become, crying openly in the Munich airport while confused travelers watched. They spent a week together, visited the hospital where Friedrich worked, met each other's families, and on Christmas Eve 1973, they attended midnight mass together at a small church in Munich. As they sat in the pews, listening to the choir sing Stille Nacht, Friedrich leaned over and whispered, "Do you remember the church? In the Ardennes?" "Every day," Daniel said. "I think about it every day." "Me too. It was the night I learned what being a doctor truly means. Not German doctor or American doctor, just healer. That night shaped everything I became. Same here. Every patient I've treated since then, I've tried to see them the way we saw those wounded men, not as deserving or undeserving, just as people who need help. After the service, they walked through the snowy streets of Munich. Friedrich showed Daniel the neighborhood where he'd grown up, the school he'd attended, the church where his family had celebrated Christmas before the war. The church in the Ardennes, Friedrich said. I have been back there, in 1968. It has been rebuilt. They have new roof, new windows, new pews. But I found the priest, and I told him what happened there on Christmas Eve 1944, about the 2 medics and the 12 wounded men. What did he say? He wept. He said it was a Christmas miracle. He asked if he could put a plaque in the church to remember. I said yes. A plaque? Yes, I will show you. We go tomorrow. The next day they drove to Belgium, found the small church, rebuilt, beautiful, standing strong. The priest who served there now welcomed them warmly. Friedrich had written ahead. Inside, on the wall near the altar, was a bronze plaque. On Christmas Eve 1944, in this church, Corporal Daniel Price, United States Army and Sanitator Friedrich Becker, Wehrmacht enemies in war, brothers in mercy, worked together through the night to save 10 wounded men, 5 American, 5 German. In the midst of humanity's darkest hour, they chose healing over killing, compassion over hatred, life over death. May their example remind us that even in war, we can choose to be human. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. John 15:13. Daniel stood before the plaque, reading it over and over, tears blurring his vision. Friedrich stood beside him, hand on his shoulder. We were not heroes, Friedrich said quietly. We were just 2 scared medics doing our job. Maybe that's what real heroism is, Daniel replied. Not the dramatic moments. Just doing your job, doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. They lit candles before the altar, said prayers for the 10 men they'd saved and the 2 they'd lost, said prayers for all the soldiers who'd died in that terrible war. As they left the church, an elderly Belgian woman approached them. She'd been in the congregation during their visit. You are the medics? She asked in French-accented English. From the story? Yes, Friedrich said. My nephew was one of the wounded, American soldier. You saved his life that night. He lived. Came home to Belgium after the war. Had children, grandchildren. He died just last year. An old man in his bed, surrounded by family. All because you saved him. She kissed both their cheeks. Thank you. Thank you for giving him a life. After she left, Daniel and Friedrich stood in the snow outside the church. The same church where they'd worked through the night 29 years earlier. Where they'd chosen compassion over enmity. Where they'd saved 10 lives by refusing to see each other as enemies. It mattered, Daniel said. What we did that night. It really mattered. Yes, Friedrich agreed. Not just the lives we saved, but the example. The proof that even in the worst circumstances humans can choose to be good, can choose to help rather than harm. They visited the church together every 5 years after that. 1978, 1983, 1988. Each time more people knew the story. Veterans groups, peace organizations, medical schools teaching ethics. The story of the 2 medics on Christmas Eve became a teaching tool, a reminder that the Hippocratic Oath transcends nationality, that compassion can exist even between enemies, that medicine is a universal language. Daniel Price died in 1996 at the age of 76. At his funeral, Friedrich Becker, now an elderly man himself, barely able to travel, flew from Germany to Boston to give the eulogy. Daniel was my enemy, Friedrich told the mourners. According to the war, according to our nations, we should have killed each other, but instead, we saved lives together. We chose to see each other as healers rather than as enemies. That night in the church, we were not American and German. We were not Allied and Axis. We were 2 medics with wounded men who needed help, and we helped them, together. Daniel taught me that there are things more important than nationality, more important than flags and politics and all the reasons men give for killing each other. He taught me that our shared humanity, our shared calling to heal, is stronger than any force that tries to divide us. I owe him my life. The world owes him 10 lives saved that night. But more than that, we owe him the lesson that even in war's darkest moments, we can choose peace. We can choose compassion. We can choose to heal. Friedrich died 3 years later in 1999 at the age of 77. At his funeral in Munich, Daniel's son, now a doctor himself, traveled to Germany to speak. "My father never forgot Friedrich," he told the German mourners. He kept Friedrich's iron cross in his study. He talked about that Christmas Eve for the rest of his life. He said it was the night he truly understood what it meant to be a doctor. They were supposed to be enemies, but they became brothers. And they showed the world that medicine knows no borders, that compassion recognizes no enemies, that healing is a universal language. The church in the Ardennes still stands. The plaque still hangs on the wall. And every Christmas Eve, a small service is held there to remember the two medics who chose healing over hatred. Veterans come, doctors come, people who simply want to remember that in humanity's darkest hours, light can still shine through. The iron cross that Friedrich gave Daniel is now in the Smithsonian Museum, displayed next to Daniel's medic insignia that he gave Friedrich. Both medals sit side by side in a glass case with a plaque explaining their history. 2 enemy medals, 2 medics. One impossible night when war paused just long enough for humanity to shine through. That's the legacy of Christmas Eve, 1944. Not the battles won or lost, not the territories gained or surrendered, but 2 men who refused to let war turn them into something less than healers. They saved 10 lives that night, but more importantly, they saved something else. The belief that even in humanity's worst moments, we can still choose to be good, still choose to help, still choose to see the person across from us as human, deserving of care and compassion. That's the real miracle of that Christmas Eve. Not that 2 medics worked together, though that was remarkable. The miracle was that they proved it was possible. They proved that the barriers we put between ourselves, nationality, language, uniform, all of it, are not as strong as our shared humanity. And that lesson echoes through the decades, still relevant, still necessary, still reminding us that we always have a choice. We can choose hatred or compassion. We can choose vengeance or healing. We can choose to see enemies or to see fellow human beings in need of help. Daniel and Friedrich made their choice on Christmas Eve, 1944. They chose healing. They chose compassion. They chose humanity. And 10 men lived because of it.